everyone. My name is Dana Barnes. I'm the president of the Greater Fall River Art Association. I am also a mixed media artist. Been doing this probably at least half of my life. I kind of enjoy getting messy in my art. I kind of enjoy taking old things and turning them into something completely different. So for our first Art Corner presentation, I'm going to show you some really basic, really easy mixed media techniques that anybody can do at home. You use what you have. You don't need to go out and buy anything expensive. Use what you have. So for me, using what I have gesso, which is artist quality gesso. You can buy it at any of the art supply stores. You can buy it at most of the big box stores. So you need that in order to give your project a little tooth. I'm going to be working on these great tags that I have here. And I think for beginners, the smaller the better. You don't want to necessarily try to work some of the techniques on this big, huge canvas and then sort of sit there and go, that's not working. But all of the techniques that I do on my small pieces like this, I do on my big pieces when I'm putting together canvas or a box or something else. So we're going to work with these great little tags. I also have some what I call collage fodder. This is just paper that came out of a magazine that I have. You can use whatever you want. Scrapbook papers if you have it, rice paper, tissue paper, any of those things. That will give you some kind of a background. So you build layers and layers and layers. So I'm going to start by building my first layer. And my first layer simply is a piece of paper. I'm just going to tear it a little bit so it's not all nice and even. And I'm just going to put this down. You can use white glue, you can use clear glue, you can use a glue stick if you'd like. My personal choice is to use something called gel medium because it sticks and you can buy this at any art supply store. Lots of them have their own name, their own brands and things like that. This one I happen to get from a little place in Avon. So it's Speedball. Anybody who knows anything about some of these things, Speedball is a really good name. I use it all the time. So just going to get my paper put down and we'll start. Here's my brush. For this stuff, make sure you use an old brush. Don't use one of your new brushes because the glue, it works like a glue, and all you literally do is put a little on your paper, on your tag, like this. And then you're going to simply take your paper and put it down. Now, you need to make a sandwich of this stuff. So that what I mean by that is you have to take and put another coat of this on the top so that the paper gets sandwiched inside the glue. And we're going to dry this. You can always sit and wait. Story of my life is I'm always waiting for something to dry because I tend to work in a very wet medium, and I tend to work in glues, adhesives. I don't usually work with a glue stick. It's just not my thing, but people can make this stuff work with a glue stick. So you'll see that this is wet. So before I want to put something else on top of this, it's pretty wet, so I've got a heat tool. You can use a hair dryer. You can use, this happens to be an industrial heat gun, which is kind of weird, but if you give me a second, I'm just going to glue this on here. Perfect. Perfect. Doesn't take very long. You just want to get it a little bit dry because it definitely, if you don't, it's not going to stick. I'm adding a little tiny bit more because this wants to bubble up off the back of this, which is fine. Mixed media, there are no rules. This is why I do it. I'm not someone who plays by the rules. I've never been an artist who adheres to anything other than I want to try it, so I'm going to try it how I would use it. So, okay, we've got this thing stuck down. I'm going to let that sit for a minute and let the glue work itself in here. I've got a couple of little wooden pieces. we're in Halloween now, so I sort of am a really big fan of Halloween, love Halloween, but I want to use those on my mixed media piece. Mixed media simply means you use multiple mediums. Some of us use these kinds of things. These are these little wooden pieces. Some of us use collage fodder, which is you can paint a whole bunch of papers up or dye a whole bunch of papers up and use them. You can add as much texture to a mixed media piece as you want. It can be flat. It can be really textural. I tend to work really textural. I do a lot of three-dimensional kinds of things. I also do a lot of doll making, which for me gives me great joy. So I do all of those kinds of things, and it's all mixed media. I use all artist quality products, but at the same time, I just use them how I like to use them. An artist would take some of this medium and they'd mix it with paint and make a little bit thicker paint. I tend to use it as an adhesive because it's a fabulous adhesive, and it's an artist quality adhesive. It's archival quality, all those things that lots of artists like to use. I'm going to paint these little babies black. Before I paint them black, because this is untreated wood, this is balsa, I'm sure, you have to put a little gesso on it, or the paint will just suck into this, and you'll be painting these things 5 or 6 times to get it black. I'm going to paint these little babies black, kind of like a silhouette. So that's a pretty simple thing. I've got some black paint here. This is acrylic paint. One of my favorite places to get paints from is a company called Delusions. They're artist quality. They come in smaller tubes because I tend to and I just did what I said I wasn't going to do. That's okay. We're going to go with the little black things. I may have to put 2 or 3 coats on just to make them stay black, because this is like I said, this is balsa. It's going to want to suck into the wood, very dry, wonderful stuff. But there we go. And we'll do the little bat. I got a crow and a bat. I love bats. I'm a big bat fan. Okay, so we'll let those little babies sit and dry for a minute. Get over there. You can dry these, you can not dry them. Normally I just toss this brush in a bunch of water, same with this. But for right now, I've got multiple brushes going, so always have those going. I started out as a teddy bear artist. I'm a professional teddy bear artist by trade. I'm also an accountant, kind of gets both of my sides of my brain working here. But I started out making teddy bears for years, and I still do, on occasion, make teddy bears. But now I've sort of moved over into paper. I like everything that has to do with paper. I like everything that has to do with recycling. Big fan of anything I can recycle. I'm a happy girl. My studio is filled with cardboard and wire and branches from outside, all that good stuff. So you can see this tag is now pretty dry. It's going to have a little shine to it because this is a gel, and it's got a little bit of a gloss to it. I don't care about that. I want to put a little paint on this, mostly because I want to give my tag some kind of tooth. So I'm going to use some gesso on this. So my tub of gesso is this big. I use this. You don't have to ever buy anything this big. I just happen to use it. So you just put a little coat of gesso on, and you push some of this stuff into the background. You can't see really what that paper was that I put down, but that's okay. You don't care. This is a background, and all the goodies will happen when it comes to the front. So there we go. We've got those. I'm going to use that brush again. I'm going to dry a few things, so sorry about the noise. Perfect. All right, my little parts are now dry. So the next layer that we want to do, I've got my paper layer down. It's kind of ripped and torn. It's not all adhered down. Got a hair in there too. That adds more texture. It's all good. I'm going to throw a little paint on this. Now, I have some orange, 2 shades of orange. I also have a water bottle, squirt bottle. Favorite tool in my arsenal is a water bottle. I like to make drips and splatters and all those good things on my on my artwork. So I'm going to drop a little bit of paint, a couple different drops all over everything here. There's a little bit of this is called tangerine orange. This one's a little lighter. Going to drop a little bit of that on here. And I'm going to hit it with my squirt bottle. I want this paint to kind of run all over the place and be really thin. Now you can use thinner paints. You can use acrylic ink. You can use watercolor inks. You can use anything that's going to make your paint run. I'm just using plain old acrylics with a little bit of water. I want some color on here all over. So then I'm going to take and I'm going to squirt this some more and get this to run. Just get it to run all over. Tap it on your thing, which is why I have paper towel. Always tap it on here, and everything kind of runs together, which is kind of cool. Kind of like that. If you don't happen to like what you've just done, gesso is your absolute best friend. Little white paint on top of this, and it will cover everything back up. You start all over again. It's no big deal. Or you set it aside, and maybe at some point in time you come back to it and you like it. It's not an exact science. Mixed media art is not an exact science. So we're going to heat this again. Want it to dry. Stop. Fabulous. Okay. So this is still a little damp. I'm not really worried about it. I use a heavier weight tag because it will take the water and all the liquid mediums that I use a whole lot better. Sometimes if you use like cardstocks, they want to wrinkle and bubble. I mean, and that's a wonderful look, and you can always have that. But I just wanted this to be a little bit flatter because this is actually going to, as part of a journal that I'm making. I make these tags all the time. I put them in journals, I put them on cards, I do all those. These tags are wonderful. I can tell you I got these at Michael's. Not advertising Michael's in any way, shape, or form, but they have these really nice thick tags on sale all the time. So head on over there if you like these really thick tags. Also makes great little pieces of art so that you can give to somebody if you really want to. Now my little crow here is all dried. My little bat is being a little grumpy, doesn't want to dry. So we'll just sort of have him sit there. The next thing that I want to do is I want to add another layer of paper. So I've got a little something cut out here. It's just a book of collage papers that I have. You can use anything you want to add a little color, but I kind of like this little image over here, and I think I want to kind of break up all my bright orange here. So I'm going to just rip this, and I'm going to drop that down. Oops, take that white edge off. I'm not a big fan of the white edges. And I'm just going to take and make this so that it's not real even, but I kind of like that. So that will come down here, and then I'm going to take another piece of this. And you're building your layers. You may not ever see the original layer that you put on this piece, and that's okay. That's what mixed media is all about. You know it's there. You can do whatever you want to do. Sometimes I will write on my tags if I had a bad day or I had a great day and I just want to write something down. I might write on this and then cover it all up with paint. I know that it's there. But anybody else does not have to know it's there. So now I'm going to audition this a little bit, kind of like it this way. Yeah, we'll go with that. And I'm going to glue these down again with my matte gel. Just a little bit on here. So I've been the president of the Greater Fall River Art Association for 5 years now. We've had some amazing events and things like that come across our building lately. We just celebrated our 65th anniversary. We are the oldest arts organization in the city, and we had a wonderful turnout. We look forward to 65 more years. We're going to try to continue doing the things that we love to do. We have classes for everybody, all ages, all mediums. We just started a preschool class, which has been a wonderful success, gathering more young ones to get involved with art. We do have scholarship programs available now. We are, so that if there's ever someone that wants to do art and really can't afford it, we never turn them away. So we are looking forward to expanding that. We ran a very successful summer art camp over the summer. We're going to do that again next year, probably double the size of it, and we are looking forward to that as well. We had a very successful summer film camp thanks to the Fall River Community Access TV. Thank you so much. Specifically, Michelle. She ran this program to help some young people figure out how to use their cameras for some good stuff. We did some great filming, had some very interesting end results, and they are up on our Facebook page and things like that. So I am grateful, and we are looking forward to doing that again. We also have adult classes, those kinds of things. We also have shows every single month, different times of the year. Our next show coming up, which will start in November, is our resident artist show. We have 8 artists who have studios in our building, and they're going to hang art on the wall. And I'm very excited to welcome all of you to come and see that. I will be bringing a few friends throughout the year that we do this program so that you can meet them. We have all ages, all mediums, all kinds of people doing all kinds of things. So here's what I've done. I've added these 2 pieces of paper, and I'm going to take a little bit of white paint, and I'm going to finger paint. I love to paint with my fingers. So my white paint is my gesso, and I'm going to sort of blend this a little bit so that it doesn't look quite so stark. But you'll see I haven't really dried my colors underneath, so I am getting some other colors that will work really well. But you want to kind of blend these things. Mixed media is also all about what makes you happy. I teach, and I encourage my students to paint with their fingers. I love to paint with my fingers. It was one of those things my mother never let me do. So now, as a woman of a certain age, I can paint with my fingers again. So I wanted that little focus. I wanted to see some of those things. I wanted to see this orange come through. And as you notice, I just toned it down a little bit. So now I've got a nice focal point here. So what does that have to do with Halloween? Absolutely nothing. But my bird might like it. My bat might like to sit on top of it. Maybe not. She might. She might. Or my bird might. Sit like that. These are the very last pieces that I will put on here, though. So we'll let that sit for a minute. One of the other things that I personally, it's just my personal style, I always have words on my art. I always have some sort of a word that means something to me. And I also always use thread. As a teddy bear maker, I am inundated with thread. People give me thread. People give me paper, people give me thread all the time. So I have a bunch of thread to add more texture. I'm all about the texture, so just cut myself a piece of that, and that will just add another little dimension to my little piece if I can pick up the thread. And it doesn't have to be anything other than a little added interest. I can also, and I might do this, I can also wrap this. So if you wrap this, that also gives you a whole nother set of textural elements for your piece. Kind of like that. So we'll wrap that today. Today I feel like wrapping, so we'll wrap. Getting near Christmas, I'm feeling like got to get my wrapping skills in order here. So we now have a tag that has some wrapping on it. I did not cut this piece of paper off. I've got another element of texture over here. I will drop a little bit of glue on this if I can get it off my fingers. I will drop a little tiny bit of the medium to get this to sit, but the paint, when this tag all dries, none of this will move. It's just right now till it gets all dry. It will move just a little bit. So now I have some additional elements here. I've got my orange, I've got some more orange, and I'm going to put my little, I'm going to use the bird. I kind of like the bird. The bird, yeah, kind of like the bird. So my bird will sit here. Now, one thing I think I can do is I can highlight him a little bit with some white, because he's a little bit black. So we're going to add a little bit on around the edge, not a ton, painting with my fingers again, just to give him a little bit of dimension here. And so he sits up and people will see him. And he kind of looks old and a little bit, I like old stuff. I like rusted stuff. I like stuff that has the paint weathered off of it. That's just my personal style. Other people like everything to be brand new and pretty, and that works for them. The crazy people who do mixed media, we all have our own, bring our own style. So I've sort of let that look like a little bit of weathered paint, brush a little bit more of that off, but that will make him stand up just a little bit more so that he sits right there. Now, one of the things that, like I said, I really do like to do a lot of is I like to add words to my to my pieces. I have any number of stacks of words that mean things to me. I just think words are really important, and it's not that I'm trying to tell a story. People are welcome to take a look at my art and then tear the words off if they want to. But for me, this is something that I always have done in all of my art, no matter if I'm working on a little tag like this or if I'm working on a bigger piece. I always have words. I also always have book pages of some sort. That's just part of who I am. Not everybody has to do this. So I'm going to scoop a few words. I have a very dear artist friend. His name is Tim Holtz, who is very generous with his artistic talents. He puts together all of these kinds of tags and booklets of things that he does. He goes out and collects all these wonderful old images and things like that. And then he'll put together them in stickers and things like that. And then he makes them royalty free. I mean, he spends all this time doing all these wonderful things and then turns around and makes them royalty free. So you can use these and you can sell them and you can do all these things. I'm not here to plug anybody's art. I'm just in awe that there's somebody that actually goes out and gets all these things put together, and we do enjoy using them. There's a lot of us that enjoy his stuff, and I'm just going to take a look here. I've got a cute little bunch of words right here. One of them says watching and waiting. So my crow is watching and waiting. So I'll probably put that right here. And then I might find another one that sort of goes along with it, maybe not. Let's see here. Oh, you can always put this here, learning to fly. So we'll put him down at the bottom. Now, once this is completely dry, I will come in here with a black pencil and outline all of this and make sure that, but you can only do that once this is completely dry, and no matter how much I stand here with the heat gun, it will not get dry enough for me to use a pencil on it. So I'm just going to adhere my crow down because he's waiting and watching, or she, could be she. She waits and watches. If I can get them unstuck from my fingers. Come on, sit there. Perfect. And there you have a little tiny mixed media tag that you can absolutely do without any problem. So we will continue these monthly art corners. I have many friends who would like to come. We're going to go out into the community and we're going to talk with some of the other artists from some of the various different places, some of the artists who don't have a studio in our building. And we will bring those folks to you so that you can learn some other mixed media or oils. The next person I think I'm going to bring in is actually one of our artists in residence. She works in oils and she's been teaching for many, many years. She's phenomenally gifted, and I think she's an interesting person on top of everything else. So I think you'll enjoy her. And I thank you so much for joining me today. I've had a good time doing this. Please forgive my voice. I'm nursing a little bit of a cold. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.